Welcome to the Featured Anime Podcast. I'm your host, Jack.
And I'm Rick.
And today we're talking about Cautious Hero. The hero is overpowered, but overly cautious. This was your choice, if I'm not mistaken, Rick?
You are not mistaken. It was my choice, and a good choice if I don't say so myself.
All right. It originally came out in 2019, ran all the way through to December of 2019, and it's 12 episodes long, with the genres of action, adventure, comedy, and fantasy. Put a heavier emphasis on comedy than anything else is what I honestly think.
Yeah, I mean, the last little bit was kind of deep, but, well, I feel it was kind of deep. But yeah, it was, I would say, mainly humor. So the premise of this, you've got this realm of goddesses and gods, and they are in charge of saving worlds, essentially. They rank these worlds from weak, and the rank of difficulty is typically granted to a goddess of the appropriate level. However, this goddess in particular, the one we're focused on, is essentially being told that she has to prove herself, and she has to save an S class or an S tier planet. And she's done B's, she's done C's, no problem. And she's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And they give her a huge stack of papers, and they tell her, hey, you can choose anybody out of this list. And so as she's looking through it, she finally gets fed up, tosses them everywhere, and fate, I guess, intervenes, and she finds this one person who is crazy strong. Like his potential, not only through the roof, but just like one in, I think it was 100 million.
Yeah, that's it exactly too. And it's really funny too, because she overlooks this one critical personality trait that...
It's super minor, barely an inconvenience.
Yeah, he's impossibly cautious.
Now, what does that mean? You might be asking yourself. Does he look both ways when he crosses the road? Yeah, he does, but he also sets up perimeters on this crosswalk prior to getting across.
And then has backup plans for that as well, just in case. And then backup plans for the backup plans. And then he thinks of every single possibility that could ever come into existence simply because he is just that cautious. In fact, He's so cautious, it makes someone else who's cautious look like an amateur.
Yeah, look like they're just, winging it. To the point where he goes and the goddess is like, hey, this is the deal. We're going to go to this beginner's town. We're going to go level you up. He's like, that's cool, I guess. How about we go back to the other world and I train a little bit and I'll tell you when I'm ready. And she goes, all right. She gives him a little doll of herself, and she's
you're being really nice. The whole setup of it, insanely nice. So it's not even that at all. They don't even make it to the first town. He instantly just takes off his top and starts working out right there. She can't help but start drooling and start fantasizing about him. Oh my God, no! It's forbidden for a goddess and a mortal to have love and everything else. He's like, I'm not going anywhere until I'm prepared, and kicks her out and says, get out of here. I'll let you know when I'm good and ready. 4 days go, and she comes back. She's trying to feed him. He's like, how do I know that's not poisoned? How do I know
you could be poisoning me?
You're not going to try and kill me? She takes a bite. He goes, okay, well, it's guaranteed that it's not a fast-acting poison. Really? It's like, okay, so she eats it in front of you. Not good enough. Now you need to wait for her to die. But he does eat, and it's after 2 weeks almost. It's 4 days, and then they flash forward to a week, and then he's finally ready. And it's, as far as anyone knows, all he's been doing is some squats, sit-ups, and push-ups, and that's it. I mean, nothing else. And supposedly he's been there he gets to level 15.
Yeah.
Just by doing that.
I mean, it's pretty diligent. if I have any say so on the matter. He's, if nothing else, extremely Arnold Schwarzenegger-esque in his workouts, just balls to the wall. And the weird part is you don't really see him tiring ever. So he must have some incredible stamina. But on top of him being overly cautious, he also has this little itty bitty perk that like boosts his experience for anything he does.
Yeah, by 3 times.
Yeah.
And he also has a whole bunch of other stats boosts on top of that, but you don't really know what everything he's capable of. Just the fact by him using a fake out skill or disguise skill, which allows him to hide his real level and skills. So that way, if you do scan him, if you do look at him, you can't actually see what he's capable of.
And the really weird part is the goddess herself scans him and we see it through her eyes. And so we are like, oh, okay, this is what's going on. He even hid it from her.
Yeah, and his... his justification for it was, what if there's a bug or monster that pops open your head and they start scanning your brain and we're sucking the information out? And she's like, you are a very sick, delusional, demented man. Like, why are you this sick? Like, why?
Oh, God. And then she's like, hey, you're only level 15. To her knowledge, at least, we should go kill this slime and kill a bunch of slimes to raise your level.
Or make you more confident, at least.
Yeah, make you more confident, yeah. And he goes, he's like, all right. And he just obliterates this slime. I'm talking, overkill would be an understatement. He uses this like atomic particle bomb thing on this level 1 slime.
It starts off with him actually scanning it behind a rock with her out in the open, not caring about her at all.
Using her
scans
as a decoy.
It, slices it, it's dead. And then he spends like the next several minutes just obliterating what possibly could be there because he's not sure if it has some hidden regenerative capability.
From scratch, yeah. Oh, man. Yeah.
It is, honestly, that first episode, the first couple of episodes really just kind of sets it up for the pinnacle of what it's going to be. And it's going to be a comedy throughout most of it. And instead of it being like a normal adventure, like they're going through these towns and everything like that, no, he goes to this area, he encounters something, he's like, okay, let's go back to the divine realm because time obviously moves slower there. And she does it begrudgingly, but they go there and time moves at what was it like 1/100th of the time that passes there is equivalent. Yeah. So 3 days there is basically 1 hour in the real world.
That said, he also, I love this. He reduces this goddess to her lowest common denominator, where when he goes to buy stuff, he stocks up on healing potions and just crazy amounts of stuff. And she goes, I can do that too, right? And he goes, oh, so you're only as good as this healing plant. Okay.
Yeah. And,
come on, healing lady.
Yeah, basically reminds her of that all the time. Just reduces her to nothing more than a common denominator, and that's it. And
the funniest thing is later on, he goes, all right, I'm going to hurt myself on one arm and on the other arm in the exact same fashion. You're going to heal one arm. These plants are going to heal the other arm. Let's see who does a better job.
No, actually, it's doing a better job. The plants do a better job, but it's not even on him. It's on some random stranger.
Oh, yeah, it's hilarious.
It is. It is great. God. He also, but you learn really through his progress and trials, is especially towards the end, you learn that he wasn't pushing people away or saying he doesn't want or need anyone. It's because he genuinely cares and doesn't want them to be hurt or killed.
Yeah, he would rather do the protecting. Even if you think he's demented, he'd rather protect you and put himself in danger.
Say that again?
So that he genuinely cares to the point where he'd rather put himself in danger and subject you to the cleanup, like his party members to the cleanup, so they're removed from danger. And it's quite endearing, but you don't really see that part of him until much later, and you have no idea why until much later. And that's where it becomes a little tragic, and that's where that's where the jokes kind of disappear, and the real plot becomes tangible. Like, the whole story of him going there is to defeat the demon lord and free this world. And the entire time you're like, this is obnoxious, this is a parody, this can't be real, as a storyline goes. And then at the very end you're like, oh damn, that's dark. Yeah, because what ends up happening, it's not his first time being summoned.
He doesn't know that. Keep in mind, he does
not know that. Yeah, but the trauma that was experienced on his first time being summoned, it imprinted on his soul, scarred his soul to the point it changed his personality moving forward. And the princess, sorry, the goddess he is with, is actually his princess at the time that he was trying to save and had relations with, and she became pregnant with twins. And at the very end, he was rushing into everything, and his viewpoint at the time was, oh, it'll work out, I'm chosen, it'll be okay. And he did not do his due diligence. He did not search out and find information that was necessary, and he didn't realize that the Demon King of that era, of that world, had a second stage. And he didn't realize it had a simple second stage, and a simple reconnaissance would have been like, hey, this demon lord is very famous for having two phases. You kill him and he regenerates to half life. You got to kill him again. Because he didn't do that, he started celebrating too early, and the demon came back and ate his princess, his lover.
No, and it came back and ate one of the other party members, and then they ate the goddess, and then he, in front of the hero, saw the princess and noticed that the princess actually had a life in him, and ate the princess after tormenting her and him, and then killed the hero and ate him.
Yeah, so it was, I guess, because I didn't focus on all the other stuff, only that last part, because that part is like the most sick and twisted part to me. Yes, everybody else dies, but they didn't impact me the same way as that did.
Yeah. And one of the things that the hero constantly does every time he goes back to the divine realm, which is where all the gods and goddesses live, is he actually, when he goes back, he's already, by the time he's at that first village, by the time he actually defeats one of the strongest people you could ever beat.
One of the four kings.
Yeah, one of the four heavenly kings. He actually ends up beating her and then going back to the divine realm to train some more, only to figure out that he can't progress anymore. He's already maxed out, and so he's trying to have gods or goddesses mentor him and teach him.
Learn new techniques.
Yeah, so that way he can further advance himself. And what's really funny is, for the first teacher, the first god, he's basically supposed to be the god of swordsmanship. And
like He-Man would be jealous of this guy's muscles.
Yeah, exactly. And the hero who's Saya, by the time day one, he's like, oh yeah, no, he's really good. He's doing great. Day two comes by, he's like,
he's depressed.
He's
like, this is bullshit.
He's like,
this can't be real.
What the hell's going on? Day three comes by, he's not even eating. He's kind of a hollowed out man. He's like, all he does is train. I already told him he's 10 times or more stronger than me. And Saya's not convinced that's good enough. He wants to be 100 times more.
And then
day 4 comes around. He's hiding in an area, and then he's being drugged back by Saya, the hero, to go train some more. And next time you see him, the hero's on top of him, just like pounding away on his face, just beating him.
And they're like, is this training? And he goes, yeah, it is.
You're ruining my training. What the hell's going on?
Oh God. And for like the remainder of that whole show, that super duper manly man is cooking.
Yep.
Like he's like, I'll be in the kitchen cooking a cake. And then Saya goes into the cake poisoned. And every time something happens to this cake, and you're just like, this poor beaten man can't even keep the one thing he's trying to save.
Yeah.
Oh god, it was awesome.
It's like he won't even call swords. He's like, get rid of these pointy things, and throws it into water. He's like, I'm done with this.
And
It's
Saya comes
awesome.
over with another sword. He's like, here, use this one instead. Oh man.
And every encounter that he actually has, it basically draws on those gods and goddesses. So you have the goddess of war, Adanella, who basically becomes infatuated with him because of his sheer power and his abilities in general. He's great. And so she becomes infatuated with him. And then you have another goddess who basically is just there to devour every single man she possibly can. She's a little sick, demented.
Yeah, every god seems to have a gimmick. For instance, the one that we mentioned just before, that the goddess of war, she goes from this just dark, demented person to a girly girl trying to just gain his favor. The goddess that we just spoke about, the what is she? The one of arrows or something like that.
Goddess of archery.
Goddess of archery. The reason that she's on her own planet is because she makes it her goal to essentially ravish any man who is brought to the holy realm.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, if a man is brought there and he has relations with a god, it's forbidden. He either dies or is sent back with his memory erased, and that world essentially loses its potential hero.
Yep. And that's basically what happens. And the goddess of archery or the bow is Midas, with the swordsman. His name is Circeus.
Yeah. And then like the most badass one was what, Valkyrie?
Yeah, actually she was the absolute most badass of them all. Just only thing is her clothes were chains. That's it.
Yeah.
But
it was a good look.
Oh yeah. She was the goddess of destruction. And she had a ability to basically destroy or kill anything. And usually it's the cost of your life, but since gods and goddesses can't die, she basically can use it. And not anyone else can use it, just her. And when he comes back for the final training montage, so to speak, Valkyrie actually trains him, and Rista, the goddess, his goddess, basically loses her mind because she thought that the hero and Valkyrie were having sex, and they weren't. She was just communing the ability to do this ultimate move that would actually kill him.
And it's foreshadowed that he might be able to survive one or two times using that, but really you don't expect him to, only because the way that he's been progressing, everything that could have killed this demon lord, this S-rank demon lord, has been destroyed or has been foregone. And what we mean by that is he's got in his party, we didn't mention that we have Rista, the goddess Rista, and you've got a Ristat or something like that. And then you have the two dragonkin, a boy and a girl. What you find out later is that's actually his kids. Those were the life form in the princess. They were twins, and they were reincarnated into this world. And the princess was reincarnated into the goddess. So it's kind of like a whole family reunion. He doesn't really.
Well, that's interesting. You're kind of drawing the conclusion that she was having twins. I don't think they ever specified twins. Additionally, I don't think they would be reincarnated into this world either.
That's what I kind of got out of it. I thought those, in the way that I interpret it, everybody in that party was essentially, it was bringing the old team back, or like his core family. Does that make sense?
It does, but
that's what I got out of it.
I wouldn't exactly say that. I mean, like you also have to remember that it's been over 100 years in between when the events happened and this happening.
100 years in the God realm. Not necessarily because it's the same guy 100 years apart. In the world he's being pulled from, it was probably not very long.
True,
because you're looking when you look at the flashback and when her storyline, the goddess's storyline, he looks very similar. He doesn't look aged at all. So maybe because it's 100 times, maybe only a year has passed.
Yeah, that's true. We never know exactly what time frame or era they're able to pull these people from either. You also see a lot of parody in this.
Yeah, you do. That's why I didn't take it seriously at first. But anyway, at the very end, he uses
Omega Valhalla.
Gate, I think is the name of the attack. Am I right? Omega Valhalla. Sorry. He uses it one time, and that's supposed to be like an end-all, be-all. But this Demon Lord is so strong, he's able to pull his way out of it. So against better judgment, after being super healed by the goddess, she's like, I'm breaking all these rules. I am unleashing my godly divine power to heal you, to keep you alive through this. So you'll survive this because I don't want to lose you a second time. And the demon comes back out and he's like, well, got to do it again. And there's a second gate that comes up that looks so much more badass, not even holding a candle to the first one.
Yeah.
And envelops that. And he's like, yeah, I've killed him, but there's no way you're going to survive. I'm taking your soul too. And thankfully, everything ends up, in a happy-go-lucky thing, because the real tension was that this Demon Lord's, I don't know if it was special ability or if it was just something he did, where there is no divine protection. Like if a goddess dies here, she's dead. If you die here, you're dead. There's no copy to pull from, because the way that it worked before is they made a copy of your soul, you went out adventuring, if you died, that copy was brought back and you were sent home.
Yeah, basically. And it's not a technique that he developed. It was more of a weapon that he had developed under certain conditions that allowed this to happen. Yeah. And at that point, when you're finding out about this ability, and then the goddess is talking to the master goddess, the head of all the gods and goddesses, they basically say, look, there's no shame in giving up. In fact, we encourage you to give up, because if you even get hit once with this, you're done. There is no coming back. There is no life for you after you get hit. There's no life after that. It's nothingness. And after seeing her history, after seeing her past, she was willing to give it up. And that's where the drama comes in. And the really awesome twist that they're able to do is, well, he killed the demon before he died. He killed the Demon Lord with that second Valhalla gate. So that the weapon was null and void, even though he died. And you're like, that sucks. He just killed himself off completely. Huge sacrifice, huge self-sacrifice right there. And you're really happy it's not over and that's not it, because it kind of gives you the sensation that there could be a second season. There could be a kind of redemption arc. And I was kind of excited for it. I'm not even gonna lie. I was really hoping there would be a second season where the shenanigans, while not being identical, would have the opportunity to correct themselves, because she's given essentially she's now the goddess of the world that they failed to save, which went from a rank B world to what was like rank triple S or something like that. Double S.
Essentially it's level S. It's super hard. So now they get to go back and be like, hey, you remember us? You ate me before. Now I'm going to roast you, because he looked like a frog.
True. But I don't know if Saya's going to remember that or remember anything at all. He's basically being resummoned for this to fight this double S world as her punishment for basically teleporting directly in the middle of this battle and using her untapped divine power, basically the fullest extent, which she is not supposed to use.
Yeah, but I mean, why do you got to bring logic into this, huh?
It's not logic. That's literally what they were saying. It's the same thing. It's why those two were brought together. The head goddess of them all said those two were brought together because of this. And, just like your conclusions of, MASH and Iruru being the twins of Rista and Saya, even though we don't know if they were twins, they just say kid or child, mother with a child. It's faint life, barely pregnant. Still messed up nonetheless.
Yeah. Well, I guess we get to... the good part about this is you get to draw your own conclusion. It's left just ambiguous enough for it to be unknown, but specific enough for you to walk away with what you want to think.
Yeah. That is actually very true. So I think right around here was a pretty good spot for us to kind of wrap up some thoughts.
Well, my final thoughts are that the anime was decent. I kind of wished it would have remained on point, on message. If it was going to be a gag show, I wish they wouldn't have introduced feelings into it later on, or if they introduced if they intended on having it be drama filled, I wish they would have introduced that much earlier on. We were actually discussing it with someone on Discord, and they mentioned that the last few episodes seemed rushed, like they almost ran out of space for the whole story. And I kind of agree with that. Not completely, mind you, but enough that it's a good enough answer.
Yeah, cats from our Discord server actually said that they would have to enjoy it more than what they did. And it really, and I again, I got to echo you and Cats on this, that, yeah, it felt like the last few episodes were rushed, especially the last like 2 or 3. Like they just kind of had to slap it together and kind of pump it out the door. I understand why they did that, but at the same time, I would have loved to see it be more drawn out. And for Cats, they gave it a 7 out of 10, which honestly, I agree with that rating. I gotta go with the 7 out of 10 as well for me.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. I would have loved to have it be a longer running series, maybe 24, 25 episodes, just to scratch that itch, draw out that series a little bit more, because it felt like it was rushed those last couple of episodes. And overall, I would have loved to see more of that relationship building throughout it all.
I agree with that. I don't think it would have needed too many more episodes. I think an OVA might have brought everything together appropriately. My score is going to be a little bit harsher than both of yours. I'm giving it a 6. The animation was good. The story was not consistent. If it was more consistent, I would have given it a 7 or higher. It just, the change of tempo is what messed me up. I still think it's hilarious to watch. Just understand that later on it's going to like punch you in the gut a little bit as far as feelings go.
Yeah. And the comedic side of it, that's the reason why I'm giving it a 7, despite the fact that it also gave it a kind of a closed ending with the leeway of them being able to do a season 2 if they want to, which hopefully they do a season 2. But the comedic portion of it really is what saved this show for me. And I was laughing through most of the episodes. There was something that I definitely, found funny all the way throughout it, at least all the way up till the last 2 episodes.
Yeah. It's not a bad story. It's just inconsistent.
Yeah. And they also could have done without the recap episode as well.
Yeah. But they all have. It's par with the course. Every show has that, it seems like.
Not every show. A lot of them actually don't, surprisingly. If they're running longer series, then yeah, they do, to kind of help recatch you up. But they really don't have that on 12-episode animes.
I don't know. I guess I just got used to seeing stuff like that.
Maybe.
But I believe next week's choice is yours.
It is. And I'm actually going to take the recommendation of Cats simply because through the discussion that we were having in the general channel, we found out, Rick, that you actually have not seen the movie No Game, No Life 0, despite all your praises of No Game, No Life. So
I indeed have not.
So that's what we're watching. We're actually going to watch the recommendation of Cats, which is No Game, No Life 0. And just kind of that's going to be my choice for next week.
Well, I look forward to it.
All right. Well, that's all the time that we have for today. If you enjoyed this episode, or if you have a recommendation, you feel like we missed out on something, feel free to reach out to us. You can reach us on our Discord server, which is the link for it is in the show notes down below. You could also reach out to us via email at featuredanimepodcast@gmail.com. You can tweet at us at those anime guys, and we also have our Facebook page up that is being maintained by Rick, and that is also at Featured Anime Podcast. We also even have a voicemail link in the show notes, so feel free to leave us a voicemail. Be happy to hear from you and give us some feedback. Until next time, I'm Jack.
And I'm Rick, and we'll see you next time.